What are your thoughts on the match tonight?
I'm really proud of the players. It's tough to play for 87 minutes or whatever it was with 10 players. I thought, obviously it took us a bit of time to sort out how we wanted to solve that, but I thought when we did decide how we wanted to solve that, I thought we did really well in the first half, limited them to not many opportunities really. And then in the second half, I thought for the first 20, 25 minutes we were the better team. Could and should have scored more goals. I think the corner off the line was close. I'm not getting fined. So I think if we'd have scored a second, then I think we could have continued to hold on. But, I could name multiple players. I thought every single player tonight who touched the field gave everything. And I said to the girls at the end of the game, I think things like that, going through games like that can be a turning point in your season. And I don't think we needed a turning point, but we needed something to live by. And we're better when we have adversity against us, I think is the best saying. And tonight we had that and we stepped up. And most teams, a lot of teams would be down to 10 players for that long a period of time and crumble. And we didn't. And we never looked like we were going to either, which I'm super proud of.
Did Kansas City's first earlier goal change anything about your thinking around subs or how you all played the game?
No. When it happened, when Lou got sent off, quickly spoke to Jess and dropped her back into the back line, and she can lead and, organise in front of her, and I thought she did that well. I think, she's disappointed with the goal, but, I've already watched it back. I think there was a lot of things that happened prior to that, but, I think there was that in the first half, really, that was it. That's all they did. So I think, you've got to give our players credit for that.
We asked Jessica why she was chopping the back, because you had a natural fullback as your number 9, you could have dropped back, and started it. So what was it? She said basically we could execute our game plan with 10. I just needed to drop back. So what was it about your game plan that made it so playing with 10 and keeping Merritt where she was made sense at the time?
Well, I think when we have Merritt as the 9, she is an unbelievable pressing 9 and works her tail off to stop the other team from playing, which then means we can get higher up the field. And if we dropped her out of that position early, I felt like we would lose a little bit. And I think we dropped into 2 banks of 4 a little bit and made it difficult for them to break us down. But then we continued to try and do what we wanted to do defensively with Naho and Pino, and work that out. And I think that's what makes us hard to break down. Is we are good when we are good defensively, we're hard to break down. And I thought we were hard to break down. And I think 2 things. One, the front 3 continuing to do their work. I thought Lindsay and Christine covered crazy amounts of ground today, which made it easier to not put Jess back in there till late. And then Jess could organise the back line. And, with having Rachel out, I thought it would be a tough one for Maddie to go in for her first game with a lot of responsibility. And I think Jess is knowledgeable enough, old enough, ugly enough to take that responsibility on. And I thought she organised the team, the back line, and sort of pushed us on a lot. And also in a very untactical, this wasn't something we thought of when we did it, but she actually ended up getting on the ball a little bit more than she has in recent games. So that's why we kept with it.
So you 2 games in a row now, you've started Merritt as the 9.
Yeah.
And I feel like there aren't very many coaches in the league that would do that. I feel like that tells people a lot about your general philosophy of football, particularly given 2 very good ball-playing central defenders that we have. A lot of people would err the other way, not disrupt them. So what do you think people should take from the fact that you're going the other way and saying, I just want somebody that is going to bother the hell out of them?
Yeah, well, not to give too much away, but I think that Merritt, when Merritt played the 9 for us in 2015 consistently, and then we sort of tweaked her a little bit last year, for me, she was one of the best pressing nines this league's ever seen, because she's athletic, she's fit, super fit, she's super quick, she's physical, she's not scared to go and put people under pressure. So when we want to press, she's often the answer to that. We've seen now she can also do with the role. She can play at outside back. She can play wide, which she did, you know, last weekend for a little bit when Pino was the 9. But that's who we are, like, and whatever. I mean, am I ever really going to think that Jess Fishlock's a centre-back? Not for a couple of years, but she did all right, you know?
Most coaches would look at that position and go, hey, we need goals from there. I mean, in a certain respect, you're lucky to have Megan Rapinoe and Malcolm.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of talented attackers in this league that you don't
Yeah.
see. I feel like the fact that a coach would like to do that says something inherently about how they see football, how roles
Yeah.
should be developed.
In fairness, the 9 for me has never been someone I look at and go goal scorer. The 9 for me has to be good defensively. Has to be. And, you know, when the way we play, the midfields we have, the way we like to build from the back, we have to have forwards who are willing to defend. And if they're not, they don't play, ultimately. They're not going to stay here. They're not going to play for us. And, you know, I think you saw tonight, Naho and Pino too. If they don't defend, we're not successful, and they put a shift in. I thought last week, overall, that's one of the best performances I've seen of Megan Rapinoe for this club, because she worked so hard without the ball. She was such a threat with it, central and wide. And then tonight she showed, if you got her on the field, you need her to give one good play and you'll score. You always believe you'll score when Pino's on the field, you know, and I think someone like Merritt allows Pino to have that. Keijo coming on, she's very similar to Merritt. She just needs to keep building now on that, you know, the physical side of the game. It's different at this level compared to college. Bev's very good defending. She's just not as quick as those two, so it's a different defensive thing. But for me, yeah, it is the opposite of what a lot of people think of a 9. But if you look at some of the best 9s in the world, Luis Suarez being one of them, you don't play at the highest level if you're not going to be willing to defend. And that's the way the game is. And that's, you know, you even look in the league, Lynn Williams, Jess McDonald, the work they put in as forwards, that's one of the big reasons why Courage are where they are, because they work so hard. And then Hatch and Hamilton just asked to do exactly the same. And if they score, great, it's a bonus. If not, as long as they've put in the work defensively for me in our team, that's all I want. And if I look at the group tonight as a whole, I can't fault any of them. Like, they absolutely gave everything. So yeah.
Pino said that she never really crosses the ball, just sometimes her shots go across the front of the goal.
It's very true.
It seemed like there was a lot more direction towards the goal.
Yeah.
Did she get a green light from you for that, or is that just really just...
That's her. That's her. You know, the goal, the ball for the goal. There's not many people in the world of women's football who can put a ball in like Pino. Where it's, is it a shot, is it a cross? And from a defending perspective, is it a shot, is it a cross, is the worst thing to defend. That indecision is what makes it difficult. And that's why, I think it was Becky, flicked it. Because she's like, am I going to flick this and Barney's not going to be able to save it? Or am I trying to head a cross away? And I think that indecision's what makes Pino great for me, is I'm never going to tell her what to do with the ball. Because she is who she is, because she knows what to do. And she knows her strengths. She can play off both feet. And she's always going to give you one a game where she'll look for something and it'll go out for a throw, but she'll get one right. And tonight she got more than one right, but the one we needed her to, we score from.
With Rumi out, you obviously had to do some reshuffling in midfield.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that's really unique about this year is you have so many options in any one position.
Yeah.
What was it about Kansas City or just about Elston that gave her the opportunity to have back-to-back starts?
It was more Elston than Kansas City. She's worked really hard in training. It's always been for Lindsay about developing her tactically on what we need from her. And she was ready. And I remember speaking to her, I don't know, a month ago, 3 weeks ago. And, you know, we were having a really honest conversation. And I said, look, if Rumi or Jess ever got injured, you need to be ready. This is your time. And I'm not sure she believed me, but it happened, and she gets her chance, and I thought she did great last week. I thought she was probably one of our better players last week up there with Pino. And tonight, you know, she showed she's super athletic and can impose herself and good on the ball. I think she hit a brick wall at like 50 minutes. I think her legs gave away, but, you know, having not had consistent minutes, that's tough. But now we need to get her fit and healthy, ready for Wednesday, because we've got a quick turnaround and a big game Wednesday night.
And speaking about the next week, 2 matches,
Mm-hmm.
how much of a rotation around the roster?
Well, I've got to find a centre-back, because obviously Lou can't play. Yeah, there's always been a plan to rotate. I think we have to. It's the way that we want to play, the way we want to press, and, you know, take away tonight. I was always considering rotating, especially midweek, but we have to now. You know, the players have put in such a graft tonight that we need to be able to be prepared for Chicago, because one thing you know against Chicago, you got to work hard. So we've got to be able to match that. So arguably, Jess actually not going box to box for 90 minutes might be a benefit. You know, we need to try and see how Pino and Naha work, because they're going to be crucial to that as well. So, yeah, I mean, it's tough having 3 games in a week. I'm glad that they're at home, but we know that we have to get our home form right. And that's probably what's most disappointing in Lou right now for her, is she's like, I know this is a huge week for us and whatever, so apologetic, blah, 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 blah. So
You've praised the development of Lindsay so far.
Mm-hmm.
How about, I'm sure it's going to be nothing but positive, but what about Kristen McNabb?
she's a joke. She's a joke. She's ridiculously good. I mean, for me, 1v1 defensively, there's not many better. Not that I've worked with. Not many. And, you know, you saw tonight. Doesn't get phased. Nothing phases her. Not one thing. She's strong. She's good in the air. 1v1, you ain't getting past her. And, yeah, I think tonight, every time she got it, she just kicked it, which was fine in this game. But, yeah, she's been excellent. Excellent. And Maddie Bauer's great. You know, she's stepping up, and she's with us now full time, which is fantastic. But I thought Kristen McNabb was superb tonight. I thought she was brilliant.
How much of the decisions around Christine on the bench last week, starting Bev on the bench this week, how much of that was rotation versus tactics?
Bev was rotation today. She obviously had a laceration thing, and she couldn't really train for 10 days. And last week she got 60 minutes and hit a wall. And I thought, not that I thought we could get through tonight not needing Bev, but I know we're going to need Bev in the next 2 games. So that was definitely rotation. I think Nairn, I actually thought tonight was Nairn's best game for us. Hands down. Best game. Maybe the adversity was something she wanted to step up for, which was great. I thought she was fantastic. But I know we're going to need Bev. I know we're going to need her. Her defending, the way she plays, how sensible she is in terms of that is going to be vital for us against the likes of Chicago and Portland. And, you know, I think Nairn reacted in the way I'd want anyone to react who doesn't start, is she came out fighting, and I thought she played really well tonight. I thought, you know, she got tired towards the end like a lot of them did, but I thought on the ball she was very, very good. I can't remember many times she gave the ball away.
You have 4 extra games this year.
Yeah.
You've got this tournament that's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't expected at the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm. And in fairness, we knew about that. In fairness, yeah.
Okay, so it was unexpected. How much more of a task is it this year, particularly with having Ruby and Megan in those tournaments, and Rachel obviously in the way too? How much more of a challenge is it for you this year to monitor the minutes and monitor the health of your players?
I think it's interesting, and I don't want to say too much that's going to get me in trouble, but I think it's something I voiced it before the season started when there was a discussion about 24 games. I'm like, do you really want to put in 24 games when you know that there's going to be a tournament in the summer? I don't think we knew how many games there would be, but we knew how over what period of time it was going to be. We obviously know about the Euros. And when the vote was made to do it, and then we didn't extend the season, I was like, okay, well, it's going to be tough. And I think in preparing this squad, I was very, because in previous years we've often done it where we maybe only carry 19 or 18 or whatever it is. We made sure we've carried 20 the whole time, and this is the reason why. You know, what have we played now? 9, 10, 9? 10. You know, this point of last season, I think we'd already played more than 10. We're past the halfway point of the season. We're not even there yet. You know, I think that says a lot. July's crazy for the national team players. And I think, for me, it's our responsibility to keep them healthy. That's what our job is. I've got a fantastic staff. My sports scientist, fitness guy is unbelievable. And I think that's why you see that not many of our injuries are either with us, not calling anyone out, but either with us or muscular, because we train in a way that we prepare for games. And I think we're definitely seeing the benefit of that. And I think we're fitter than we've ever been before. Crummer's close to being back, probably a couple of weeks out. We've now gained Bauer full-time. We've always had her, we just haven't had her full-time. So we're in a good, healthy spot. Even though, you know, you look at the injury report, and I have a giggle when people moan about their injuries with the teams, because I'm like, well, I have Diana Matheson out all season, I have Crummer out until the end of this month, and now I have Rachel and Rumi. You know, I think I could moan, but I'm not going to, because I think that I have a squad that can compete, and I think we proved that tonight.
Laura, soccer team lost a legend, DiCicco.
Yeah.
Any comments on his legacy and his impact on the women's game and how him might have influenced you and your coaching philosophy?
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough to meet Tony a couple of times. He was obviously one of the few coaches, really, when I lived at home, that I'd heard of because of the legacy that he had and things that he'd won. And then I was lucky enough to meet him, and you know, I think, I wouldn't say I know him well, but I think I'd met him, 3 or 4 times. And I think the one thing that stands out to me about when I met him was he's a super nice guy. You know, you wouldn't really know what he'd done in the game. That's the type of guy he was, and I think that says a lot about him. And his legacy speaks for itself. I think I saw something today on the stream where it put up, you know, the things that he'd achieved, and then if you look at what he did at Boston as well in the WPS, and I know he had a little bit of influence, I think, with Houston early in the league. He's just been someone that either is directly or indirectly involved in women's soccer in the US, and I think when you think of women's soccer in the US, Tony's name, I think, will stay and be someone's name that was constantly talked about for a long time. And arguably that's probably his biggest legacy, is there's a number of people in this country who've done fantastic things in the game, and the majority of them are players. And he's probably the one that I think anyone who's played the game in the last 30 years will know who he is. And I think that's just a fantastic thing to know.